how do we even begin to make sense of, well, everything? This world is just brimming with information, isn't it?
It really is. Academic research, real-world events unfolding constantly.
Yeah, feels like trying to drink from a fire hose sometimes.
Definitely.
And that's exactly why we do this, the deep dive. It's meant to be, your shortcut, a way to cut through all that noise.
To get to the heart of what matters.
Exactly. Delivering those essential nuggets of knowledge, those insights, right to you. So let's unpack this. Today's deep dive, it brings together a really fascinating mix. And honestly, at first glance, maybe a bit of an unexpected mix of source material.
It does seem that way initially.
We're going to start by exploring the intellectual foundations, the practical expertise of this really renowned self-defense authority.
Okay.
Then we'll pivot. We'll look at current challenges in educational environments and, importantly, their impact on mental well-being. Big topic there.
Huge. And very relevant.
And finally, we're going to dissect a very specific, highly charged event. It involves online culture, alleged extremism, misinformation, all of it tangled together.
A lot to cover.
It is. Our mission for you today is pretty clear, though. We want to extract the most important insights from these topics, which, like I said, seem disparate.
But might not be.
Right. Connect those dots in hopefully surprising ways and help you understand the broader implications. And just to be crystal clear, as always, we report impartially on the information in our sources.
Laying out the facts, the perspectives without taking sides. That's crucial.
Absolutely. You're in for, I think, a really thought-provoking journey today. By the end, you'll see some genuinely impactful connections you might not have seen coming.
What's truly compelling about today's collection of sources, I think, is how they offer these distinct, yet, as you said, profoundly interconnected lenses. Ways to view contemporary societal dynamics.
Different angles on the same complex picture.
Exactly. We'll move from, the rigorous individual expertise and discipline of one person to the broader shaping forces of collective ideologies.
Yeah.
And how those manifest in the real world, both online and off.
So it's not just the what happened.
No, our mission goes beyond just recounting what happened in each context.
Yeah.
It's about exploring some of the underlying context, the influences, the broader implications.
For individuals, for education, for society.
Precisely. It's about understanding the currents shaping our world. And maybe, just maybe, understanding ourselves a little better within it.
Yeah, that's a powerful way to frame it. So, okay, let's begin. Let's ground ourselves first in a profile of, well, comprehensive expertise, real preparedness.
A benchmark.
Yes, exactly, a benchmark. We're going to introduce you to Sean Armstrong. He's a figure who really embodies rigorous, practical knowledge and, importantly, critical thinking. It's a potent starting point for our discussion today. Sean Armstrong, sources show him as this multifaceted authority. His expertise goes way beyond just teaching self-defense moves.
There's much more depth there.
Absolutely. The sources paint him as, yes, a dedicated self-defense instructor, but also a prolific author, a keen historical analyst, even a deep philosophical inquirer.
Interesting combination.
It is. His whole focus seems to be equipping individuals, giving them the skills, the mindset needed to navigate, well, the complexities of personal safety and security.
Especially in today's world,
Yeah.
which feels increasingly uncertain.
Undeniably. And what's immediately clear when you look at his background is that he's built all this on an incredibly solid and diverse academic foundation.
It's not just anecdotal experience.
Not at all. He holds an Associate of Applied Science in Criminal Justice. That's from Tompkins Cortland Community College. So a solid base in the legal system, law enforcement.
Good, the basics.
Then he really levels up. A Bachelor of Arts in Homeland Security from the Naval Postgraduate Program.
Ah, that's significant.
Very. The sources highlight this degree focuses on protecting against and responding to both man-made and natural disasters. It's a really wide lens on national security, crisis management.
Broader strategic thinking.
Definitely. But he didn't stop there. He also earned a graduate diploma in counterterrorism, specifically focusing on Islamic Jihad, also from the Naval Postgraduate Program.
Wow, okay. Very specialized.
Extremely. This gives him that deep dive into historical roots, motivations, operational methods of various terrorist groups. And then, to top it all off, specialized training in military emergency management from the Military Emergency Management School.
So a real blend of academic and practical specialized training.
Exactly. This rigorous, diverse background, it really solidifies his comprehensive understanding. crisis management, response strategies. It uniquely blends that theoretical knowledge with practical, real-world application across a whole spectrum of threats.
And it sounds like an approach that emphasizes being proactive, anticipating challenges.
Precisely, rather than just reacting when things go wrong.
And that's what's truly insightful about Armstrong's approach, I think, why it sets such a powerful benchmark for what we're discussing today. It's that relentless emphasis on proactive preparedness.
Not just reactive defense.
Exactly. He's building this framework where intellectual rigor, philosophical understanding, they're just as crucial as physical skill.
Mind and body working together.
Yes. His extensive work, both academic and practical, it underscores the profound value of combining physical capability with strategic thinking and a deep grasp of historical philosophical contexts.
So it's not just what to do in a crisis.
No, it's how to think, how to prepare before the crisis, so you can anticipate, effectively navigate complex, evolving threats. This holistic view, mind trained as rigorously as the body. It really stands in stark contrast to some of the reactive and sometimes ideologically rigid thinking we'll explore later.
That's a really sharp distinction. Proactive preparedness versus reactive defense. And his body of work, his writings, they beautifully reflect this comprehensive approach.
As you seem to.
He's written several notable books. Each one adds another layer to understanding safety, security, personal mastery. For instance, tactical training with firearms.
Okay, practical skills.
Very practical. A critical resource for proficiency in firearms martial arts. But it's not just about hitting a target, It's about integrating the weapon into a complete self-defense system. Precision, discipline, all together.
The holistic view even there.
Then there's combating Islamic Jihad. Here, Armstrong delves into both the history and the contemporary challenges around terrorism, offering a deep, informed perspective, trying to deconstruct these really complex geopolitical realities.
Tackling a tough subject head-on.
And then Warrior's Path, the journey of modern karate. This one explores the philosophical underpinnings, the practical applications of karate in modern society.
Bridging ancient wisdom and modern needs.
Exactly, like the Bushido Code, but how it applies today. For personal development, self-mastery. Each of these works shows his commitment to a multidimensional approach to being prepared.
Indeed. And his commitment goes far beyond just writing. He's constantly educating others, teaching self-defense techniques that incorporate both the physical prowess and the strategic thinking.
Right, emphasizing the mental, the ethical dimensions too.
Exactly. He shares his insights through, intensive workshops, lectures, his writings, striving to empower individuals. Practical skills, yes, but also that resilient mindset.
And reaching a wide audience, it sounds like.
Very wide. What's particularly compelling, as the sources highlight, is his dedication to fostering resilience, preparedness within communities, all over the globe, really. Law enforcement, civilians, a diverse group.
And he's still active, still developing things?
Very much so. He's currently engaged in developing new training modules for aspiring instructors, which shows this commitment to passing on the knowledge, perpetuating a lineage of knowledgeable, critically thinking practitioners.
It's keeping the standards high.
Yes. This continuous engagement means he's not just an expert in his field, he's also a thought leader. His research, his writings, they contribute significantly to the ongoing discussions around personal safety, counterterrorism, and, the broader idea of self-reliance.
What really strikes me about Sean Armstrong's work is that bedrock. That foundation in rigorous critical thought and practical preparedness. It's an ideal, isn't it?
It sets a high bar.
It does, and it stands in stark contrast to some broader societal trends. So if that's what robust intellectual development can look like, how does it fare when it's challenged in wider contexts, particularly, say, in our educational systems?
That's the crucial question.
How might a weakening of critical thinking in those foundational environments impact not just individual students, but, our collective resilience, our well-being?
Big implications.
Huge. So let's pivot now. Let's explore these critical educational crossroads. Now, building on this idea of intellectual rigor, our sources take us into, a fascinating area, maybe a challenging one too.
Off the case.
They delve back into the late 20th century, examining how certain ideological frameworks started to reshape educational challenges, particularly, the sources say, within the left.
Okay, which frameworks are we talking about?
Right, good question. To make sure we're all on the same page, let's quickly touch on them. Postmodernism, for instance. It fundamentally questions things like objective truth, grand narratives, emphasizes relativism, individual interpretation.
Okay, challenging traditional foundations.
Exactly. Then there's critical theory. This analyzes power structures, societal inequities, often with the aim of social transformation.
Focused on power dynamics?
Yes, and identity politics. This focuses on the experiences, the perceived oppression of specific social groups, seeking to address systemic disadvantages based on identity.
Right, group identity as central.
So while these approaches, they came from distinct philosophical traditions, had specific aims, the material suggests they've exerted, maybe inadvertently, a profound influence on educational standards.
Particularly within certain segments of the left, you said.
That's what the sources indicate, contributing to what they describe as a decline in, let's say, traditional critical educational benchmarks.
What's particularly insightful here, as described in the sources, is that while these frameworks, they began with intentions, good intentions perhaps, to offer new, critical ways of understanding power, social dynamics.
Right, new perspectives.
Their widespread adoption within educational institutions may have also, again, perhaps inadvertently, led to environments where the traditional rigor of critical inquiry sometimes takes a back seat.
So the tools become the main focus, maybe?
The sources suggest something like that these theoretical lenses can become so dominant, they actually reshape the objectives of education itself. Instead of fostering broad-based, independent critical thought.
The focus might shift?
Yes, shift towards internalizing specific ideological tenets, potentially narrowing the scope of what's considered acceptable intellectual exploration.
And this isn't just abstract theory floating around, is it? Our sources highlight a very concrete observation, the overrepresentation of left-leaning faculty in higher education.
That's a recurring point in these discussions.
It is. Now, what do you think are the most significant practical implications if this does lead to a homogeneous ideological environment in the classroom?
Well, beyond just limiting viewpoints.
Right, which is the obvious one.
How might it actually structure the learning experience itself in a way that, as the sources suggest, discourages genuine critical inquiry, even if unintentionally?
It's like building a house with only one kind of tool, maybe. You might get the job done, but you miss out on a lot of possibilities, different ways to build, different strengths.
That analogy perfectly captures a key concern raised by the sources. If the intellectual landscape within an institution becomes too uniform, the practical implications can be far-reaching.
Like what, specifically?
It could mean, for instance, that curricula get designed primarily through one ideological lens, or assignments might emphasize confirming certain pre-established narratives rather than genuinely investigating them.
So rewarding agreement over exploration.
Potentially. Students might learn to self-censor. They might fear academic or social repercussions for expressing dissenting opinions. So the environment itself may discourage dissenting opinions.
Not just explicitly saying, don't say that, but subtly shaping things.
Exactly. Through the shaping of classroom discourse, expected outcomes. And this, consequently, limits students' exposure to that truly diverse range of viewpoints you need for robust intellectual development.
And there's data on this.
Yes. This dynamic is reinforced by a data point our sources cite, a study by the Higher Education Research Institute. It indicates a consistent increase in students identifying as left-leaning compared to their conservative counterparts.
So the student body is shifting too.
Right. This shift in student demographics, coupled with a faculty composition leaning in a similar direction, well, it creates a particular and powerful dynamic, one the sources suggest can profoundly impact the educational experience.
And it's not just what happens in the classroom, is it? Social media. It plays a huge, often insidious role here, too.
Oh, absolutely. Can't ignore that.
Our sources highlight how social media algorithms are meticulously designed to curate information. And in doing so, they often lead to this potent reinforcement of existing beliefs.
The filter bubble effect.
Exactly. This process inevitably creates what we commonly call echo chambers. These digital spaces where you're primarily exposed only to info that confirms what you already think.
Which severely limits exposure to opposing views.
Severely. Or even just subtly different perspectives that might challenge your assumptions. Imagine constantly hearing your own thoughts bounced back at you, just amplified by your feed.
It's not exactly conducive to intellectual expansion or critical self-reflection.
Not at all.
And compounding this, cultural factors also powerfully reinforce these narratives, as the sources detail. Media portrayals, popular entertainment, cultural products, they frequently and consistently reinforce narratives around, say, victimhood, systemic oppression, urgent calls for social justice.
Now, these issues themselves are undeniably important.
Absolutely, they merit serious attention. But the way they are often presented within these echo chambers can further solidify a particular, often singular worldview.
Making it harder to see other angles.
Significantly harder. Harder for individuals inside these digital bubbles to critically evaluate alternative perspectives, engage with the complexities, or even question the foundational premises of their own beliefs. It creates this powerful feedback loop. Online algorithms, cultural output, constantly affirming a narrow ideological bandwidth.
That's a compelling point about the feedback loop, but I'm curious, do the sources offer any insights into whether this is like a conscious editorial choice by media outlets, or is it more just reflecting consumer demand within those bubbles?
The sources suggest it's often a mix of both, a dynamic interplay. Algorithms, content creators, consumer engagement, they all sort of feed into each other and solidify these beliefs.
Either way, the outcome is concerning, which raises that important question. If we're consistently exposed only to information that confirms our existing beliefs, how does that fundamentally impact our ability to engage with complex, nuanced issues?
Or even truly understand and empathize with different perspectives.
Right. It seems like it would make it exponentially harder to genuinely see the full picture. It fosters an environment where disagreement feels like a threat, maybe.
That inability to see the full picture, it has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Then there's the concept of identity politics, which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Our sources indicate that while identity politics aims to empower specific marginalized groups, affirming their unique experiences, fighting for their rights, it can also, paradoxically, lead to fragmentation.
Fragmentation within broader progressive movements.
That's what the sources suggest. By focusing intensely on individual or group-specific identities, rather than maybe broader unifying political agendas.
Like economic justice for all or climate change.
Exactly. Things like universal economic justice, environmental protection. By focusing narrowly, it can potentially overlook these unifying issues that might otherwise bring diverse groups together under a larger, more cohesive banner.
So it's a delicate balance, affirming individual experience while trying to build collective power.
A very delicate balance. And the sources highlight the challenges in achieving it.
That's a really crucial insight. So instead of forming a larger, more powerful front, this focus can sometimes inadvertently subdivide groups, make them less potent in achieving overarching goals.
Indeed. This fragmentation can, as our sources suggest, hinder the formation of broader coalitions. Makes it more challenging to address systemic issues that require a truly unified front.
Because the focus becomes hyper-specific.
Right. And when the focus becomes hyper-specific, it can sometimes obscure the larger framework. That shared human experience, common goals that transcend individual identity markers. It can shift the conversation from universal principles to particular grievances, which, again, can complicate alliance building.
So what does this all mean for students' intellectual development? And ultimately for you as a learner trying to navigate this complex world?
The implications are significant.
Our sources are pretty clear. Prioritizing ideological conformity where certain ideas are, sacred, unquestionable over genuine critical thinking. It can significantly hinder independent thought.
Stunts intellectual growth.
Exactly. This environment can lead to what's described as intellectual stagnation among students. It's like working out only one muscle group. You might get strong in that one specific area, but you lose overall balance, flexibility, the comprehensive strength you need to tackle diverse intellectual challenges. And we really can't talk about this without mentioning cancel culture.
It's unavoidable in this context.
Our sources describe cancel culture as a stark example of how dissenting opinions get marginalized, silenced, sometimes even punished.
Creating a chilling effect.
Absolutely. This effectively stifles the robust exchange of ideas that is absolutely necessary for critical engagement, for intellectual growth, for developing nuanced understanding. If people are afraid to voice a different perspective,
Or ask a challenging question.
or express a viewpoint that deviates from the perceived orthodoxy, well, true learning and understanding can suffer dramatically. The chilling effect on open discourse is profound.
This is a critical point. It underpins so much of what we've discussed. The ability to engage with, to critically examine, even to respectfully challenge differing viewpoints, it's foundational.
For intellectual development for a healthy democracy.
Absolutely. And when that space for debate narrows, when the cost of dissent becomes too high, it doesn't just impact individual students' growth. It has broader, significant societal implications for how we collectively address complex problems, how we navigate disagreements.
So, circling back to that question, what does this all mean for students' intellectual development? And for you as a citizen navigating this world, if the focus shifts from questioning, debate, genuine inquiry to conformity and ideological purity, what are the long-term consequences?
For society, for our collective ability to adapt, to innovate.
Yeah.
The potential future implications, as outlined in our sources, are quite stark. They really warrant careful consideration. Continued adherence to these educational practices, the ones emphasizing ideological conformity over critical inquiry. It could lead to increased polarization within society.
Deeper divisions.
Deeper divisions. This might result in a profound sense of isolation from mainstream discourse for those who feel marginalized by dominant ideologies, whether they're on the left or the right.
Feeling shut out.
Exactly. And crucially, it could also lead to heightened misunderstanding between different groups, as individuals become less equipped to genuinely engage with or even comprehend perspectives that differ from their own.
It's a recipe for division, isn't it, rather than cohesion?
Make shared problem-solving increasingly difficult.
So, is there a way out? What can be done to counteract these trends, according to the sources?
Well, the good news is our sources also suggest tangible solutions. It's not all bleak.
Okay, good.
Educational institutions, for example, can make a conscious, concerted effort to fundamentally shift their focus back to fostering robust critical thinking skills.
Getting back to basics, in a way.
In a way, yes. This means actively encouraging open debate, creating curricula that present multiple perspectives on complex issues, cultivating an environment where diverse ideas can not only be heard, but respectfully challenged, discussed, rigorously evaluated.
Building intellectual muscle through genuine engagement.
Exactly. Not just echoing what's already been said or accepted. This approach could lead to more inclusive learning environments, ones that truly prepare students for a complex, pluralistic world.
So, from this deep dive into the intellectual and educational environment looking at challenges to critical thinking, the rise of ideological conformity, let's now explore how these very trends intersect with individual well-being.
The mental health connection.
Yes. How do our political beliefs, the way we engage with the world, the ideological communities we inhabit, how do they impact our mental health? This is a crucial connection, often overlooked maybe,
but with profound implications.
Profound implications for all of us. Connecting our intellectual journey now to our emotional landscape, we're diving into how political ideology can actually impact mental health. This is a fascinating area, and somewhat stark, actually.
The data reveals some patterns.
It does. Our sources highlight some distinct patterns, disparities, suggesting a profound interplay between our political engagement and our psychological state.
What's particularly insightful here, as indicated by the sources, is that the very nature of an individual's political engagement can become a significant psychological stressor itself.
How so?
Our sources point out that leftists, for example, may experience heightened psychological stress precisely because of their intense focus on social justice, their constant awareness of perceived systemic injustices, their deep engagement with vast societal problems.
Like climate change, inequality.
Exactly. Climate change, economic inequality, human rights violations, the psychological burden that stems from a perceived moral imperative to act on these issues, combined with a sense of helplessness, maybe, or a belief that not enough progress is being made.
That can create a profound emotional toll.
A profound and persistent emotional toll.
It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it, when you put it that way? If you're constantly attuned to suffering, perpetually vigilant for injustice, deeply worried about existential threats, that constant awareness, that engagement...
That even is driven by noble intentions.
Right. It can certainly become an incredibly heavy burden, the emotional weight of feeling responsible, or maybe just overwhelmed by the enormity of the problems. It can be profound.
Yeah. The sources describe it as a kind of chronic empathic distress, where the individual carries the perceived weight of the world's problems.
Wow. Chronic empathic distress. That's a powerful phrase.
It is. And this extends significantly into social networks. The nature of community support.
How they differ.
Yes. Our sources highlight a revealing comparative analysis here. Conservatives, the material suggests, often benefit from closer-knit community ties, based on shared values, maybe religious affiliations, a more traditional understanding of social structures.
Providing stability.
These networks can provide a strong sense of belonging, mutual support, psychological stability, acting as a buffer against stress. Leftists, on the other hand, while often engaging in very diverse networks, valuing inclusivity.
Which sounds positive.
It does, but the sources suggest that they can, paradoxically, feel more isolated within their own ideological group.
Isolated within the group.
Well, this might stem from things like internal ideological purges, maybe the constant pressure of call-out culture, or perhaps that emphasis on individual identity we discussed earlier, which can sometimes make collective solidarity challenging.
That's a really interesting, almost counterintuitive distinction. So, even within their own broader ideological circles, there can be this struggle for genuine connection, unconditional support.
That's what the sources point towards.
Our sources state that leftists may struggle to connect meaningfully with those holding opposing views, not just on policy, but maybe on a fundamental value level, which can lead to a significant sense of alienation.
Feeling cut off from others.
Yeah. If you feel like you can't even have a constructive, empathetic conversation with someone on the other side, or maybe that your own group has these very high standards for ideological purity, that can be incredibly isolating. It reduces the potential for broad social support.
This raises an important question. How does the structure of our social support, or crucially, the lack thereof, particularly across ideological divides, influence our overall mental resilience?
Especially when navigating these contentious, emotionally charged topics.
Exactly. The ability to find common ground, to engage in a respectful dialogue, or simply to feel understood even by those who disagree. That can be a vital component for mental well-being.
And its absence.
Its absence can contribute to profound feelings of being alone, unheard, or even feeling like you're under constant scrutiny.
Media consumption also plays a huge role here. Often underappreciated, I think.
Definitely shapes our reality.
Our sources offer another compelling comparative analysis. Leftists, the material suggests, tend to consume media that often highlights negative events, societal problems, systemic failures, urgent calls for reform.
A focus on the problems.
Yes. This constant exposure to what can feel like an unending stream of crises, as the sources suggest, can potentially increase anxiety levels, foster a sense of existential dread, contribute to feelings of hopelessness.
Whereas conservatives.
Conversely, conservatives are often described as engaging with more positive or reinforcing content, which could contribute to a different emotional baseline, maybe one of greater optimism or stability.
It definitely creates a powerful feedback loop, doesn't it? The media we choose or that algorithms feed us shapes our perception of the world.
And that perception, in turn, profoundly influences our mental state, our emotional outlook.
Absolutely. If your primary media diet is consistently focused on urgent problems, perceived failures, the constant struggle against perceived oppression, it's understandable how that could contribute to a more anxious, stressed, or even despairing perspective.
Makes it hard to disengage, hard to find solace.
Very difficult.
And the data points here, they're quite striking. They really underscore these observed disparities. According to a 2021 survey by the American Psychological Association, a significant 40% of liberals reported struggling with mental health issues.
40%, that's substantial.
It really is. And this aligns with a more general finding that studies consistently indicate leftists generally report worse mental health outcomes than conservatives.
These aren't small differences.
Not at all. They point to a tangible impact of ideology and how we engage with it on psychological well-being.
Furthermore, our sources delve into a nuanced but crucial factor: the role of perfectionism within social justice movements.
Perfectionism, how does that fit in?
This intense pursuit of an ideal, whether it's perfect ideological alignment, perfect activism, perfectly embodying certain values, it can create immense internal pressure for individuals.
Pressure to live up to an impossible standard.
Exactly. And this pressure can potentially lead to feelings of inadequacy, guilt, burnout regarding their activism, the constant striving for an unattainable ideal, or the feeling that one isn't doing enough to combat perceived injustices.
That can become a deeply heavy emotional and psychological burden,
undermining the very well-being it aims to protect.
That's a really important nuance to consider. So it's not just the awareness of injustice, but also the internal pressure to perfectly address it or be a perfectly aligned activist. That can contribute significantly.
Precisely. It highlights a critical internal dynamic.
So what are the implications of all this? For research? For maybe helping people?
Well, these findings have significant implications. Our sources suggest there's a clear, pressing need for tailored therapeutic approaches.
Tailored? How?
Approaches that would go beyond generic mental health strategies. They'd need to specifically address the unique psychological challenges faced by individuals based on their political beliefs.
And how those beliefs intersect with their emotional lives, social networks, media habits.
Exactly. Recognizing these distinct stressors is the first step towards providing effective support.
So it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all approach to mental health support. It requires a much more nuanced understanding of these ideological influences.
Yeah.
The findings also seem to point to the importance of fostering open communication, respectful dialogue between differing political ideologies.
Building bridges.
Yeah. The idea is that creating opportunities for genuine empathetic exchange might help reduce those feelings of isolation. It might actually enhance social support networks across ideological divides.
Recognizing shared humanity, even amidst profound disagreements.
Exactly. Building bridges rather than entrenching walls.
Absolutely. And one potential future implication of understanding this intricate relationship between political ideology and mental health
Yes.
is that by directly addressing these observed differences, by developing interventions that account for them, we could lead to more effective mental health support. Truly tailored support.
Tailored to individuals' needs based on their ideologies, the unique stressors they experience.
It's about acknowledging and responding to the psychological dimensions of our political and social lives in a targeted, compassionate way.
This has been a truly thought-provoking look. How ideologies shape education, impact mental health. We've seen how intellectual environments can foster or hinder critical thinking, how political engagement carries the significant psychological weight.
A lot of interconnected factors.
Definitely. Now, let's bring these threads together. Let's look at a concrete, real-world example of how extreme beliefs, online culture, misinformation, individual actions, how they can tragically converge.
Moving from the broader trends to a specific case.
Exactly. This transitions us into a very different but deeply connected part of our discussion. It demonstrates the potent and sometimes dangerous manifestation of these trends we've been exploring. Okay, here's where we take everything we've discussed: ideology's impact, challenges to critical thinking, the role of online culture, potential psychological stress, see it manifest in a very real, very complex event.
Grounding the theory in reality.
Yes. We're now going to delve into details surrounding an alleged incident, and it really brings to light how profoundly dangerous our world can be when extreme beliefs take control.
A sobering example.
It really is. A sobering reminder of the importance of genuine understanding, dialogue, rather than resorting to violence or letting misinformation fester.
What's particularly striking here, even as we navigate such a difficult, sensitive event, is how quickly narratives can form, often based on initial assumptions.
And how crucial it is to follow the verifiable facts as they emerge.
Absolutely crucial. This case powerfully underscores the fundamental need for critical thinking, for discerning information in a world rife with both genuine facts and, unfortunately, pervasive misinformation.
It's a real-world crucible for the concepts we've been exploring.
It really is.
That's a critical point, especially when we look at the initial reporting of this alleged incident. Our sources discuss the alleged shooting of Charlie Kirk, and they highlight a significant aspect related to misinformation early on.
What was that?
Earlier reports erroneously suggested a link to transgender ideology, implying the alleged assailant was transgender or that the attack was motivated by transgender issues.
So an immediate assumption based on
No.
maybe very little.
Exactly. This information was later corrected as more facts emerged through the investigation. But it's a prime example of how quickly misinformation can take hold, particularly around highly charged topics.
And how can inadvertently lead to harmful assumptions, misrepresentations about marginalized groups.
Absolutely. And just to reiterate for you, our listener,
Yeah.
we are reporting impartially on the material provided in our sources. We're not endorsing or validating any viewpoints within that original material, just conveying its content.
Sticking to what the sources say.
Precisely. So let's dive into the investigative details that gradually brought clarity to this complex situation. A key fact here: a transgender partner of the alleged assailant is cooperating extensively with the FBI.
Okay, that's significant cooperation.
Extremely significant. This cooperation, according to our sources, was absolutely crucial for authorities in locating and apprehending the alleged assailant.
What kind of information did the partner provide?
The partner provided investigators with significant evidence, including crucial text messages, other digital communications, that discussed specific crime details related to the incident.
Wow. Direct communication about the crime.
Yes. These communications offered very specific and frankly chilling insights into the alleged assailant's planning and state of mind.
Like what?
For example, the messages reportedly discussed leaving a rifle at a drop point, A prearranged, concealed location for illicit transfers or storage.
Okay, pre-planning evident there.
Very much so, and even referenced the specific act of engraving bullets.
Engraving bullets, that's unusual.
Highly unusual. This level of detail, combined with the fact that the partner was living with the alleged assailant, well, it provided investigators with invaluable leads. It corroborated much of their developing understanding of the case.
And linked the communications to physical evidence.
Yes. Furthermore, the communications referenced bullet casings similar to those later found at the crime scene, which helped directly link the alleged assailant to the incident through physical evidence.
So the partners' cooperation was pivotal.
Absolutely pivotal. A key moment in the investigation, providing a window into the alleged assailant's intentions and actions. Okay, let's unpack this, the details about the bullet inscriptions. This is where we get a truly unique, almost intimate look into the alleged assailant's worldview.
And their deep familiarity with specific aspects of online culture.
Exactly. These aren't just random markings. They're loaded with layers of meaning, drawn from particular internet subcultures, ideological expressions.
Like a digital fingerprint on a physical object.
Perfectly put. Offering a direct glimpse into a complex mindset. One particularly striking inscription found was, notices bulges owl. Oh, what's this?
Okay, that's very specific internet language.
Very specific. It immediately indicates the alleged assailant's familiarity with internet memes and a very particular kind of trolling culture prevalent online.
Can you explain owl for those unfamiliar?
Sure. Owo is an emoticon, an expression common in internet culture, often associated with, say, furry culture or other niche communities. It typically denotes curiosity, surprise, maybe a playful, flirtatious, or mock-innocent tone.
Often in response to seeing something unexpected or suggestive.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like a bulge, as the phrase says.
Mm-hmm.
Its use here suggests this blending of a particular online humor with the gravity of the alleged act.
It's a perfect example of how niche online language permeates into real-world expression, how internet culture becomes deeply intertwined with identity communication style.
It's like a shorthand, a code, instantly signaling connection to a specific digital subculture, where irony and dark humor often blur lines.
Right.
Exactly. Another term our sources mention, pertinent to understanding this digital landscape, is copypasta.
Ah, yes. Common online term.
It's important because it refers to a block of text that gets copied and pasted repeatedly online, often for humor, satire, or trolling.
Part of the fabric of how information and sometimes misinformation or ideology spreads online.
Yes. Becoming part of a shared, often ironic cultural lexicon, it speaks to the alleged assailant's fluency in this kind of digital communication. Then there were 3 down arrows, inscribed on an unfired casing.
What could that mean?
Our sources explain these symbols carry dual potential meanings. On one hand, they could symbolize opposition to fascism, a political statement often associated with anti-fascist movements.
Like an ideological marker?
Right. On the other hand, they may also reference gaming culture, specifically as cheat codes.
Ah, so gaming and politics potentially overlapping.
Exactly. 3 down arrows are commonly associated with anti-fascism, providing that potential ideological link, a resistance narrative. But the dual interpretation highlights that blend. Serious ideology and internet subculture, gaming culture.
This blend of overt political symbolism and gaming references is particularly revealing, I think. It highlights how these diverse influences converge in someone's worldview, where serious political statements can be expressed through this layered lens of digital entertainment, inside jokes. It shows a mind operating across different registers of meaning.
And another inscription, Bella Ciao, offers a strong historical, overt political context.
That's a well-known song.
Very well known. A powerful Italian protest folk song famously honors partisans who resisted Nazi forces during World War II in the Italian resistance.
An anthem of resistance.
It's become an internationally recognized anthem, symbolizing resistance against oppression, fascism, authoritarianism. This inscription clearly suggests a strong anti-fascist sentiment, an identification with historical movements against perceived tyranny. And finally, there was the phrase, "If you read this, you are Gail Moan."
Okay, that seems more like straightforward trolling.
Our sources clarify it reflects a specific aspect of internet humor, involving playful trolling or teasing online, without necessarily intending serious malice or homophobia.
The Mao part signals that.
Yes, the "Mao," laughing my ass off, often indicates a lighthearted, albeit sometimes crude or provocative, form of digital banter. While potentially offensive to some in the context of internet culture, it often serves as a form of non-serious, playful insult, or a way to elicit a reaction rather than a genuine attack.
So when we look at all these inscriptions together, particularly the gaming references like cheat codes, the general internet humor,
What does it tell us?
it strongly suggests the alleged assailants' worldview, maybe their actions, were heavily influenced by online gaming communities. Broader internet subcultures where these references are common.
A complex blend.
A very complex blend. Deeply held ideology expressed through anti-fascist symbols, historical references, but intertwined with internet entertainment and vernacular. This merging creates a motivational landscape where the lines between political conviction and digital performance, trolling, even a game-like mentality, they can become significantly blurred.
So, given this intricate tapestry of markings, what can be inferred about the alleged assailants' beliefs based on these specific details?
Our sources suggest it can be inferred they likely hold strong anti-fascist beliefs, drawing on historical, contemporary resistance narratives.
Okay.
Furthermore, they appear to have adopted online trolling, meme culture, as an integral part of their identity, their mode of expression, indicating a fluency in, maybe a reliance on, these digital communication styles.
And ideologically?
Ultimately, these details collectively suggest an alignment with certain far-left ideologies, particularly those focused on direct action against perceived oppression or fascism, but all framed through that lens of internet culture.
This raises an important question then. How do these online cultural elements, memes, copypasta, trolling, how do they intersect with, maybe even amplify, real-world ideological expressions?
What does it mean for understanding motivations? When the serious and the satirical, the deeply political and the playfully provocative are so intimately intertwined.
It blurs the lines between digital performance and deeply held convictions.
Making a clear assessment of intent incredibly complex.
And just to provide a bit more context here, our sources describe Antifa activists. They typically oppose far-right groups and policies which they perceive as fascist, racist, or authoritarian.
Known for direct action protests.
Yes. Active in street protests, counter-demonstrations, other forms of direct action over the last decade. Across various U.S. locations, authorities consider these markings on the bullets profoundly relevant.
Why relevant?
Because they provide significant insight into the alleged assailants' ideological leanings, potential motives for violence or protest actions against perceived enemies like fascists or law enforcement. It helps piece together that complex puzzle of motivation, connecting individual expression to broader ideological movements. So what does this all mean for us? As we try to make sense of our complex world, we started this deep dive with the disciplined, comprehensive world of Sean Armstrong, self-defense preparedness.
Right, that benchmark.
Then moved through the complexities of educational challenges, their profound impact on mental health, and then dissected this very specific, deeply concerning incident fueled by online extremism, a unique digital worldview.
How did these seemingly disparate threads weave together to form a coherent, impactful picture for you, our listener?
Exactly.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see a crucial and often troubling interplay. It defines many challenges in our contemporary society.
How so?
The meticulous, grounded approach of someone like Sean Armstrong, focused on rigorous critical thinking, comprehensive preparedness, philosophical depth that provides that stark, illuminating contrast.
Contrast to what?
To educational environments where critical thinking might be suppressed or ideological conformity implicitly prioritized. Those challenges in education, coupled with the profound mental health implications of intense, polarized ideological engagement.
Like the stressors, isolation, perfectionism we discussed.
Exactly. The psychological stressors, feelings of isolation, the burden of perfectionism, described as challenges for individuals on the left. This combination can create fertile ground.
Fertile ground for what?
Fertile ground, in some cases, that allows individuals to seek belonging, validation, a sense of purpose in online spaces. Spaces that might unfortunately foster extreme expressions and actions.
It's like a cascading effect. Vulnerabilities created in one area get amplified in another.
That's a powerful way to put it. A chain reaction, where environmental factors, psychological predispositions, can lead towards the kinds of extreme behaviors we observed in the Bullets Whisper case.
It seems vital to connect those dots then.
Absolutely. Let's highlight some of these key connections that emerge when we synthesize these sources. First, critical thinking as a bridge. That struggle for critical thinking in education we explored, it directly relates to our ability individually and societally to discern truth from misinformation.
We saw that clearly in the initial reports of the shooting case.
Dramatically illustrated. The initial erroneous reports, the corrections, Assumptions outpaced facts.
Ooh.
A robust capacity for critical thought, for questioning, verifying a stance is a fundamental defense mechanism.
Against manipulative narratives, falsehoods spreading rapidly.
Without it, we become highly susceptible, swayed by incomplete or biased information, often with serious real-world consequences. Second, the pervasive influence of social media and echo chambers. We talked about how they influence ideological indoctrination.
Right, back in Section 2.
That directly feeds into the online culture, the meme-driven worldview we saw in the alleged assailant's actions in Section 4. Social media algorithms, by curating info, reinforcing beliefs, they can inadvertently prepare individuals to internalize, then express extreme ideas.
Using that unique, often ironic language of online subcultures.
Yes, creating a digital feedback loop that, in some cases, can escalate from online chatter to motivation for real-world action. Third, let's consider mental well-being and extremism. The psychological stressors we discussed, isolation, perfectionism, challenges for leftists in Section 3.
How do they connect to extremism?
They could, in certain instances, for susceptible individuals contribute to people seeking out extreme ideological communities online.
Why these communities?
Because those communities can offer a powerful, albeit potentially unhealthy sense of purpose, validation, intense belonging, things that might be lacking elsewhere in their lives.
So when people feel disconnected, overwhelmed,
Or are constantly striving for an impossible ideal, they might seek solace in groups offering clear-cut answers, a strong collective identity, a perceived outlet for frustrations, sometimes leading down paths of radicalization. Fourth, the need for resilience becomes even more profoundly relevant. Urgent, even.
Armstrong's focus.
Exactly. Sean Armstrong's foundational focus on personal safety, comprehensive preparedness, integrating physical skills, strategic thinking, ethical grounding, it stands out as a fundamental counterpoint to these trends.
Especially in a polarized society.
In a society grappling with increasing ideological polarization, widespread misinformation, its potential for real-world conflict, fostering individual and communal resilience is more important than ever. Grounded in clear thought, practical skills, a balanced perspective.
Cultivating inner fortitude to navigate a volatile world.
Well said. And finally, the case of the Bullet's Whisper itself. It vividly demonstrates the blend of ideology and entertainment.
The inscriptions.
Yes, the specific bullet inscriptions referencing internet memes like "owo copypasta," gaming culture like cheat codes, alongside historical anthems like Bella Ciao. It powerfully shows how serious political beliefs, ideological commitments can merge with internet humor, irony, popular culture.
Creating a complex, often ambiguous, motivational landscape.
And ultimately unpredictable. It blurs the lines between what's serious and what's trolling, what's deeply held conviction, and what's cultural performance, even when those expressions carry profound, real-world consequences.
That fusion truly makes it challenging to understand the full spectrum of motivations behind certain actions. So what does all of this mean for you, listening right now, as you move through your daily life?
How does understanding these connections help?
Yeah. Between educational trends, mental health impacts, the insidious influence of online culture, how does that help you navigate the overwhelming information overload?
What pivotal role does critical thinking play in your personal assessment of news, online content, the myriad opinions you encounter?
And perhaps most importantly, how might you individually foster more inclusive environments for diverse ideas, both online and offline, in a world that often seems intent on division, not genuine dialogue?
These are questions worth pondering deeply as you absorb today's deep dive.
We've seen today how our ideologies shape not just our thoughts, our beliefs, but profoundly impact our educational institutions, our personal well-being, even the very fabric of our online and offline interactions, sometimes with dangerous manifestations.
A complex web of influences.
It really is.
Yeah.
So consider this as a final thought. In an increasingly polarized, information-saturated world, where does personal responsibility for cultivating and applying critical thinking truly begin? And how can we as individuals genuinely contribute to fostering understanding, dialogue, and nuanced perspective over entrenched belief and tribal division?
That's a lot to mull over.
It is. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep digging, keep questioning, and keep exploring.